So, good evening, everyone. I think I left off on the last video where I was at the Salvation Army, and I want to say welcome. Please remember to subscribe to my channel. It's important, and I'd like to be able to, when I am disseminating this kind of information, that you'll be the first to get the information, because I'm gonna do it live, and as I do it live, you will know that I'm on here, and I'm actually just telling my journey. Right now, I've told probably tens. If you go back to YouTube, you'll find a lot of videos of me talking about my story. And I wrote a book based on the fact that I'm just coming onto YouTube and talking about my story. But here, I have now transitioned into America, right? I moved from my boyhood and I'm now into America. And I wanted to share some parts. You know, your journey is built with a lot of things. Your journey is built with good times, bad times, life-changing times. And most times when a person writes a book, they're going not necessarily for the good times, they're giving you the learning experiences that they've had based on life-changing experiences. And so, when I tell you snippets of my journey, it's episodes of stuff that happen over time. It doesn't happen behind each other, but they're really important pieces that changed my life in a way. And they set me straight most times. They set me straight. So I don't do lean. And so, the last time we were here, I was talking about, how I spent time in a chair at Salvation Army. I was a good volleyball. Like Brad, I was a good volleyball player. I spike a lot. I used to hit the ball hard. And while I was at the Salvation Army, they liked the fact that I could spike. So they, the 2 months that I spent with them, I spent 2 weeks on their chair, but 2 months playing volleyball for them. And we played other Salvation Army posts, and we'd win. And I remember one of the championship games that I played, we won. And when I got off, this lady said to me, "I know you don't have any place to live," because the guys at the Salvation Army tell me, right? But I have a nephew. His name is Jerome, and he lives just about a mile from here, from the Salvation Army. And I could talk to him and tell him that, I ask him to let you stay with him. And she said, "I'm sure that he's not going to charge you anything, because, he's a good guy." So here goes another angel, right? If we can call that angel. And so when I got to Jerome, I didn't have any place to live. So I went inside the house and then just came and got a room. And oh boy. And so I started looking for work. Luckily, I got a job like the first or second day when I called the agencies. I was working through an agency. So I called the agency and they got me a job. Ralph's was having the employees at Ralph's, they were having a strike. It was a big strike in California. And I would have loved to work with Ralph, but we didn't have the job. But they say if you go work on a strike, you can't work for Ralph when the strike is over. But I didn't know how long the strike was gonna last. Me want a job at Ralph's, but we can't take the chance and not get a job during the strike because we have the money, and I'm gonna put pressure on Jerome. So I went and break the strike, and took the job. And I worked there for probably about a month. And this was like in July, August. So it's kind of hot. Brethren, as it came to like October, it started getting cold. May have been later. But California cold when it cold. I mean about really cold, okay? And at nights, it really, really cold. And in the mornings, it really cold, right? And so I only had a small amount of clothes that I asked my mom to send for me, right? Because she wasn't gonna ship all of my clothes. And so it didn't come with any cold protective clothing. And I remember I was going out one morning, early. And boy, I have to take a 3 bus I have to take from where we live to get to work. And it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And when I go to that bus stop, and I'm alone stand up there, and it's cold. Man, I have never been so cold. Not even New York was that cold. I lived in New York during the ice. And man, I was so cold. And I got on the bus. Luckily, the bus was warm. They keep it warm for you, I think, and feel good going out. I wait for another bus again and it cold again. And I mean, it was really, really bad. So when I got home, I told Jerome that, boy, it's cold, and I didn't expect it to be that cold. And he said, you don't have any cold jackets? I said, no. Boy, Jerome, give me one jacket. First of all, Jerome was a small guy, right? Not too much smaller than me, but he was smaller than me. And Jerome gave me a jacket to wear. I mean, I'm so appreciative still, But boy, when I look on the jacket, it's not bad enough. It's dirty, bad. And Jerome never had a washing machine. And the morning when he gave it to me, I couldn't stop and go wash the thing. And but boy, I feel so funny wearing that tight up thing. And right off right here was so messy, God, I feel poor. Anyway, I want to use the opportunity to, wherever in the world Jerome is, I want to use the opportunity to say thank you, Jerome. I stayed at Jerome's house for about 6 months. And I worked at temporary jobs. We have to take bus from Compton. Jerome lived in Compton, California. Anybody know about Compton, California? Those days, Compton was the worst place in America to live, yeah? No gunshots and stuff. I lived in Compton, and I had to travel to Bellflower, or I had to travel to Los Angeles. And the buses that go to Los Angeles, it's 3 or 4 buses we have to take around this. And I have to leave out from 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning to get to work by 7 or 8 o'clock. So I stayed with Jerome for that time. And it's so funny. I had to pay him $200 a month, and I didn't have much money left over. And I remember that I needed to leave his house because, after a while you become uncomfortable staying with people's home. And I decided that I am going to look for a place. And I started walking around because I didn't have a car. I'm gonna walk for miles on top of miles and look for a place. And I found an apartment building. And it's on a Saturday, right? Because I work during the week. And so when I found the place, I walked in, and the building had a manager. So I went, and somebody told me where the manager was. I went and knocked on his door. And when he opened the door, it's a black man. Well, it was Compton, so you expect a black man, really. But I didn't expect anybody with an accent. And he had an accent. And it wasn't Jamaican. It happened that he was Panamanian. And I told, his name is Ferdy. Again, Ferdy, another angel, right? Ferdy told me it was $350 a month to stay at the place. This is 1986, ladies and gentlemen. And so I said to him, well, Freddie, I don't have $350 enough. I can't even save enough money. But what I can promise you, I get paid every week. I can promise you that in 3 weeks, I can give you the $350. Now, just come America, and I am trusting somebody. I gave him $100 a week for 2 weeks. Cash. I'm not giving him a receipt. But he knew that I wanted the place. And so I walked in every week and gave him the 2 weeks I gave him. And on the third week, he said, I am not going to give you any more time to give me the money. You have to come up with all of the money this time. Because I gave him $200 and then another $100 I was about to give him. And then he wanted another $50. He says, I am doing enough for you because I'm not even charging you a deposit. so I had to dig in my pocket and find the extra $50 and give it to him. That broke me, completely broke me, right? And I gave him the $350 and he gave me a key to the place. That was like the happiest moment in my life, right? But he gave me a key. I have no furniture. I have absolutely blank furniture. And now I have to come up with another month's rent. So I have to work to come up with another month's rent. And I have to think about that. So while I work, I have to think about that month's rent. So now I get the place. I don't have any money for telephone. Or them the days everything was, you have to go to the office and then they have to turn it on and so forth. And I have to, but the good thing about it was you don't have to give them any money to get the gas nor the electricity or the telephone. They would bill you your deposit those days. So I was happy. I have the gas, I have my electricity, and I have my telephone. That's all I needed. But I didn't have any bed, no mattress, no nothing at all. And that took me for a good 6 months before I got a bed. Ladies and gentlemen, I was in this place on the floor like I was at the tenement yard for a long time. And I remember I applied for a job at the city to drive bus. And as I applied, it's a long process. So I had to work part-time and go and drive bus part-time. All right, so driving the bus, I'm learning to drive the bus. So they put you through a 3-month training. And in that 3 months, they pay you minimum wage at the time was $3.20. And so I was doing 2 jobs at the time. So I had to do the part-time work, the accounting work, well, whatever it was, and then the bus training. And during that bus training, as I went through the steps, each week I'd get $100, $100 there, $100 there, and I got another $100 from the other place. But I really wanted to drive the bus because that had better prospects of making better money. Because at the end of the day, if I go through all of this, then I'd be working $9 an hour at the time, which was big money, if I got the job. And as I went through the training, I had to give up the other job. And I met this guy. His name is Don and Mabel. It's like my mother and father. After a while, they became my mother and my father. And Don was not good at reading. He had just retired. He had gotten hurt, and his back had gotten hurt. And And when I met him, he wasn't going back to the city job that he had. He wanted to drive bus. And so I helped Dan. He wasn't a good reader. And I helped him through as far as I could with doing, but I couldn't help him with tests, And he dropped out. But before he dropped out, he used to pick me up at my house in the morning because he knew that I didn't drive to work. And he picked me up. And when he was leaving, he called me Art. He says, Art, come to the house Saturday and let's talk. And when I got to his house, he had me, made some proposals to me. The proposals were, his son is no longer there, and there was a little Toyota Corolla parking in the parking lot, and his son wasn't driving it. And he says, take the car, pay me $1,200 for it. You can pay me over 2 or 3 years, and just take the car. And then you can drive to man, I was the happiest man alive. Like a brown Corolla, Jesus, hatchback Corolla, Jesus. And then he also said, I also own a little store down the street. It's a janitorial supply store. And he said, if you work in the store on a weekend, then you can make the money to pay back for the car. So I work with Don as a janitorial supply clerk, store clerk, for about 2 years. Making $50 a day. And while he would go off to Vegas, he and his wife on the weekend, and I work in the store, right? Took me about 2.5 years, 3 years, 2.5 years to pay off for the car. And that car helped me, but it really embarrassed me sometimes because it's stopping in the middle of the road. I mean, I don't know anything about the car. I drive down the freeway and it's a boom, I just stop, and what do I do? And so sometimes the police had to come and push me off on the side of to the side of the street and then give me a ticket and go and left me, right? And then I have to figure it out myself. So I'll walk on the freeway until I get to a gas station and then get somebody to come and move the car and so forth. So it was a rough life. And but the car helped me because now I had something to get around with. And it was rough. But before I got the car, ladies and gentlemen, here's my office. My office was a phone booth. There were 3 phones next to each other, next to the building that I now live in. So in order for me to get a job, a day job, I had to get up early in the morning because Apple One or the other, remember the other agency name, they're in their office from 6 o'clock in the mornings. So I have to go to my office, which is the phone box across the street from my house, and stand there. And nobody can get my phone. There are 3 there. If anybody come up there, I better get them the 2 there because this is my one, this is the one. This is the number that I gave to the agency. And between 6 and 8 in the mornings, that phone booth belongs to me. And so I would stay there and wait. And if there's no call between 6 and 8, then I go back home. But if I get a call between 6 and 8, I'm going for a job. That kind of thing. One day, and that lasted for a long time. Life was hard. And so I remember a friend of mine had a bed that he wanted to get rid of. And he said, I have a van. He'd come and drop the bed off. And so he dropped the bed off at my house, and it was just a bed with no spring. It was a box, but the feet, the 2 feet were broken. It's not it wasn't the frame, it was a wooden box kind of a thing. And it had 4 feet, but 2 of them were shaking. And so I was sleeping one night and I don't know what happened. I turned And all of a sudden, I felt myself on the floor. Lord of mercy. I felt myself on the floor. The bed turned this way. Somebody asleep. And so I kept that bed because I couldn't fix it. I have nobody, no friend. I didn't have any friends at the time. I was in California by myself. And I remember the bed leaned like this for months. I couldn't do anything about it. Life rough. All I had inside there was a bed. But I was working at one point 3 jobs, 2 security guard job and 1 customer service job. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the last story I'll tell you. One day I left so I working 3 to 11, and then I hurry up 11 to 7. And then I'd go now from 9 o'clock until 2 o'clock to the customer service job. So I work 9 to 2 customer service. So 3 to 11, 11 to 7. I'm always late for the 11 to 7 job, but it was a security guard job. So it really didn't matter. And then 9 to 2 at the other one. So I came in one morning and I didn't have a lot of money, as I said. Well, I went to the supermarket one time and got a 50-pound bag. It was cheap. A 50-pound bag of pinto beans. Anybody who knows pinto beans knows it look like red peas, but clearer color. And at the same thing, then take and make the Mexican mash beans, whatever, right? And so that's the only thing I could afford. I couldn't afford rice. So I buy like black pepper and salt and stuff, and me make stew peas every day for my lunch and my dinner. And one morning I came in and I put on the stew peas. And I only had 1 pot, by the way. And I remember the shine pot with a handle. And when I put on the peas, I'm supposed to go now, take a shower, and I stir it up a couple of times and put the salt in it. I'd take a shower, change now into tie and shirt, and head to my other job. And I went and lie down on my bed and forget. When I woke up, I don't know if you have seen movies where God and his angels are hanging out in the clouds, and you see with a white smoke and thing, right? That's where I thought I was. Woo! That's where I thought I was. And I heard a thud. Boop, 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 boop. The thud woke me up, it looks like. And I walked in the smoke towards the door, the thudding of the door. And I looked to the left, my word, my kitchen was red. Completely red. I'm not a hook. Red. Fire. I had left the thing on the stove and it had burned out. The thud. And I opened the door. It was Ferdy, the manager, knocking the door, trying to get in. And I jumped out. When I jumped out, the fire followed me. Life wasn't easy. As I said, there's a book coming out, and there's a lot more of these stories, these snippets of stories. And I'd like you to follow me. Subscribe to the channel and you'll hear more. All right?